Hey everyone, so today is going to be part 2 of doing a drain and fill on the transmission of my Toyota Corolla with the CVT. Now before I start doing that, I want to test out a theory that I've heard other people use regarding checking the temperature to set the level of the transmission fluid in these cars. Now, if you may or may not know, the transmission fluid has to be at a certain temperature to check the level because these do not have traditional dipsticks. Now, most people, unfortunately, do not have scan tools, which is the recommended way to do this. But if you don't have a scan tool and you want to check the level, there's really no other way to know. So what I'm going to try to do is use an external thermal thermometer, basically. This is a little bit of a fancier one, but they also do make more basic ones. And I'm going to take an external reading of the actual pan itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to idle the car up to temperature. I'm going to monitor the temperature so it comes up very slowly and very evenly. And when the pan itself is reading 95 degrees, I'm going to shut the car off, and I'm going to then use my ratchet. I'm going to remove the plug. Now, if this ends up being an accurate way to do this, because I believe the level is correctly set, because I got out 2 quarts like pretty much everybody else says they do when they do a drain and fill from the pan. I got the same amount out, and I had Toyota set this level before. So when I use this ratchet to take the actual exterior plug off, if I get a very small amount out at 95 degrees from the external pan reading, that should be fairly accurate. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my Allen key to take the straw out. And I'm going to take a second reading of the actual fluid itself when it comes out as quickly as I can to see what the actual temperature difference is between the fluid itself and the exterior of the pan. But again, I'm going to do it just a very slow idle, so it's a more even temperature absorption all around, and there shouldn't be that much of a difference. Again, I have a 10 degree Fahrenheit difference because, like I said, again, 95 degrees to 105 is the range, the temperature it needs to be at to check it, which is 35 to 40 degrees Celsius. So as long as the temperature, once I get it out of the transmission, is below 105 degrees, then that should be an accurate way to check this level. So this is just a theory I wanted to try out and see if it was actually viable while I'm doing the actual drain and fill itself. So I'm going to idle the car up and then check temperature and then go from there. All right, so I idled the car up to 95 degrees. Only took a couple minutes, already pretty warm outside. So right now I'm getting a temperature 95, 90, right there. See that? 95 degrees. So that's the external temperature of the pan. So I want to see if this is accurate. So I got a nice big oil pan. I want to make sure these are nice and clean. You don't have any excess oil in them. Otherwise, your level could possibly not be accurate when you go to make the levels, make it even later. Now, if I don't get a ton out of this, if it just gets a small stream or a few drips, that should be pretty close to setting the level. And I'm going to get a temperature of the fluid itself. Oh, that's a little bit more than I was expecting, but it's not too much. Let me get a temperature reading of this fluid and see where the fluid is. With the pan showing 95, 96 degrees. All right, let's see what the fluid temp is. Fluid temperature is 103 it's settling at. So the fluid temperature is 103 degrees. But I'm getting a little bit more out than I thought. Let me make sure the straw was in all the way first. Yeah, that's in all the way. So either that's not really the most accurate, or possibly this was a little overfilled. So I have a little bit, I probably got about a few ounces in there, definitely. So that might not be, I'm not sure if it was overfilled or not. I don't think so. I had Toyota set the level. I did a drain and fill last time, and I was pretty careful about it. So the fluid's only 103 degrees, so it's within the temperature range it's supposed to be. And then I'll go ahead and I'll remove that straw. Now this is where the bulk of it will come out, typically. The fluid's not too dark. This is 2 drain and fills. Still pretty red, not too bad. A little dark, but not bad. And I expect to get 2 quarts out of this, because that's what everybody seems to say they get on a drain and fill, and that's what I got last time. The car should be sitting pretty level. It's sitting up on my quick jacks, and that makes the car sit level. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let this drain for a little while to see the exact amount I get out. Then I'm going to go take it and I'm going to measure it out. All right, so I got everything buttoned up underneath. The little straw only takes, I believe, 15 inch-pounds, but you'll feel when you want to put it back in, it just stops right away. And then when it stops, just you're done. The drain plug, I believe, is 30 pounds of torque. So that one's you got to make pretty snug, and then you're just obviously gonna have to wipe off the bottom of the pan, make sure it's clean. You want to let it drip for a while, just to make sure you get the most amount out as possible. Now, when you want to go measure it out to refill it, obviously this is the old fluid, 113,000 miles with 2 drain and fills. This is the new fluid. This is exactly 2 quarts. So I let it drip for quite a while, and we are, I think the one on the right is a hair higher, but I just did spill a tiny bit, not too much, but just a little bit, so I think this is close enough. They're almost exactly the same level, but this is how much darker it's going to get as time goes on. You want to make sure both containers are clean, no moisture, especially the new one. Make sure it's never been used for anything else before. Make sure there's nothing else in them, and you want to make sure that the fluid is at the same temperature. I let this cool for a little while, and then I put this one out in the sun to help compensate for it. So again, same container, fluid, same temperature, and you want to get them at the same level. And then when you want to go to put the fluid back in, let me grab my light. Two 10 millimeter screws, and then a plastic rivet. The 2 red retainers are for the screws, and then the rivet goes on the right. Right here, where it says FE on it, is where the bolt goes. I loosened this already just so it would come out easier. So it'll say the fluid type on it, FE, and then that's what it looks like inside there. So I'm going to use my funnel with the that has the straw on it, so it'll go in a little bit easier, because using transmission funnels is a little bit tough at the angle it has to sit. I've used that before, and it works pretty well. So I'll go ahead in a minute. I'll start filling this up. As far as the theory of using an external temperature gun, now I'm pretty sure the level was not overfilled, because everybody I've spoken to and all the other research I've done, it seems like when you do a drain and fill, you're going to get out 2 quarts, and I got out basically exactly 2 quarts as I did the first time I did this. Now, I don't know if the temperature probe inside the transmission takes the temperature from a different spot, or if this is not as accurate. So I'm not really sure what the discrepancy was. I got out about 1/4 of a quart or so when I did that. I really wasn't expecting to get much out, really only a couple ounces maybe. So I got out a little bit more than I expected using this. I think the best way to do it is, if you're having a leak, I think the most accurate way to do it is let the car cool down, drain the pan out till it's empty, and then put 2 quarts in if you're completely blind and don't know where to go. I think at a pinch, this will work, and it's going to get you in the ballpark of where you need to be. But you want to let the car idle and just come up to idle temperature and sit as long as possible to try to get the fluid more even, because there are, as I was looking more around the transmission, I noticed there's different temperatures in different places. So I don't know where the temperature probe in the transmission really grabs it from, but this was not too far off, but it wasn't as accurate as I was hoping it would be, provided the transmission wasn't overfilled, which I really don't think it was overfilled. So I'm just going to go do the standard method of just a measured drain and fill. But like I said, I think in a pinch, this is going to get you in the ballpark. I didn't get, even though a steady stream was coming out, not an actual large amount of actual volume of fluid actually came out until I physically pulled that straw. That's when you saw it really started picking up the pace, because that straw is actually pretty small and not a ton comes out of there at one time. Even though it's a steady stream, the actual volume it was relatively low. Like I said, probably in the neighborhood of about a quarter of a quart. So that's not terrible. I know you want to try to be as accurate as possible, but I think a quarter quart isn't going to make a tremendous difference. But for the most part, I'm just going to stick to this. And then if I were to develop a leak, I could always either do this again, or I think possibly the better way to do it might just be drain the fluid out of the pan and just put 2 quarts in, and that should get you pretty close to where you need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just put the new fluid back in, put the bolt on, and then I'll be done with my final drain and fill for this car. All right, so I got refilling. Luckily, this funnel with the hose I have on it, I can route it through the engine compartment, and the hose makes it nicely into the fill hole and just sits there. This is the only part where it makes it a little bit easier to have a second person just to kind of hold the funnel or whatever type of device you're using to put the fluid back in. Let it sit for a couple minutes and just let the rest of it run in. Then when that's done, take the original bolt that came off, 36 pounds of torque, tighten it up, and that should do it. So the drain and fill procedure on this isn't too hard. You need a couple of tools, but overall not too bad. Pretty much anybody can do it in their garage. Just a little bit easier if you get the car off the ground, but it's a relatively simple procedure. So I hope this was informative. Thanks for watching.